This is Ketchin' Up, a post-book debrief and behind-the-screen look at the Third Gallon Podcast.
And welcome back to another very interspersed episode of Catching Up. We're not doing a lot of them these days.
Catching up.
I like that we're doing catching ups in between books for this adventure path.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to remember.
It really does. And there's a lot to review on per book. And like each book is a different chunk of the game system, really, in terms of levels. But now we've done book 2. You guys killed... Maybe. Mugland, he fell. Falling doesn't mean death in media, does it? Who knows?
Oh, we'll never find out.
I'll never tell you killed Mugland.
Unless we do.
You probably definitely killed Mugland. You shoved him off Hellside.
Oh, no.
We've been talking about this a lot. Unfortunately, we played... The way it worked out play-wise is we recorded, I think, the episode before you fought Mugland in November. We recorded the episode that you fought Mugland, or bought Mugland and fought him, in February, I think. Yeah, we recorded that February 3rd. The episode before that was recorded November 18th. It is now March 2nd, a month later, that we're finally able to sit down and review because everyone's been very sick.
Again. So sick.
But we've had a lot of time to think about the end of book 2, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like while book 2 was fun, a lot of people did not like how it ended.
We've tried to avoid giving each other details, but I believe that is the sentiment.
It feels like the sentiment. It was unfulfilling in some regards, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the things we liked about book 2. I want to talk about the game system at this point, level-wise, but we should also talk about what hasn't been working, and spoil some things that we perhaps didn't get to talk about that happened story-wise, or maybe that you didn't get to as players. So just briefly, before we dive into that, how has your experience as players changed now that we've gone from the first book, which is levels 1 to 4, to the 5 to, I guess, 8 range now? Does the game feel different to you?
I'll say it's kind of hard to tell because I'm playing a whole different character.
That's true. Although you do still have some of the same actions.
Playing as Chester is exactly the same.
Really?
Not a thing has changed playing as Chester. I've gotten more unique tools. I've only got to use them once, maybe twice, when I got to use the powder to reveal the rats.
Right.
But like besides that, it's devise a stratagem and throw a bomb.
It's a pretty simple move.
That's all. That's
fair.
Chester, baby.
What about Psycheer? I feel like you've had the most change.
Psycheer has gotten a little bit more resource managey, especially since I have to be more conscientious of, oh, I'm protecting these two. I need to be watching my own hit points. I need to be in a certain area so that whenever I heal, whenever I harm, I'm doing as minimal team damage as I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
You couldn't have been normal, could you?
No.
Jacob just can't. It's not physically possible.
But I also have to continuously learn new effects because the spells I get are different, and I've also taken a new archetype.
That's right.
That's right.
With the time mage thing.
Yeah.
It feels like in book 1, Psycheer had cantrips and focus spells, right? Focus abilities from your mystery, right?
In book 1, for the first 1 or 2 levels, most of what I did was cantrips. Yes, it was namely the haunting him.
Yeah, haunting him.
Then I got the holy ray.
Yeah.
That was more or less a finisher.
Right.
And a lot of what I did was medicine, treat wounds.
And then in book 3, now that you have 3rd and 4th level spells, and now you'll have 5th, I think, at 9.
I think so.
It feels like your opening spell salvo is a lot deeper. Like your spell playbook of things to do in combat has a lot more going on. So you don't lean on the cantrips quite as much.
I definitely feel more like a caster now.
Right.
I can see that. You're definitely casting bigger spells.
Yeah. You have
And
more of a
that's-
role in combat than in book one.
That's more fun for me. I think that melee combat is kind of dry, which was what I ended up doing. I think I had a dagger and maybe a bow.
Yeah, because you don't have like the things Eleanor and Al have, where you have a bunch of different actions that work together, or
That
even a
spices up my combat.
because like all your actions and stuff comes down to like spells and focus abilities.
Yeah.
I have to plan my turns. I have to figure out, can I get there in time? Do I have enough movement for me to do a tumble behind and still be able to strike? Like little things like that. Do I need to use both movements to get there, or do I have enough movements at the end or actions at the end to raise my buckler? That's what makes my combat a little bit less dull, because of the chance to do I fail the tumble behind such and such.
Yeah. As a GM, I haven't played any 2E as a player, but running monsters there and also GMing for Eleanor, there's a whole lot more going on for martial classes right now at this level range. Because think about, we play a lot of Pathfinder First Edition, also D&D 5e. When you get to like level 8 or something like that, your casters are really starting to pop off in terms of abilities. But you basically just get some more attacks and make fighting a little bit easier. But all your turn is, especially in something like First Edition Pathfinder, is either move up to the thing you want to hit or stand still and hit it a bunch. That doesn't happen in this game. Like
No.
You really don't want to take more than one swing unless like you really need to take something down and you're running the risk of it.
Or you're built for it.
Or you're built for it, yeah.
The critical and failure system has definitely made it so that secondary attacks happen less.
It's more worth setting yourself and your teammates up for a crit or a more likely chance to hit than it is for just standing still and swinging a lot. Obviously, monsters are different because you don't have as much of the setup and hit stuff.
I was reading a PF2E board of discussion once, and it was like, how is this different from 5e? And the main thing people said was, you are an adventuring team of heroes. It doesn't let you shine as a single individual. You have to work together in difficult combats, and they are very right.
Another thing as a GM for me, I've really noticed is when you guys were level 1 to 4, it felt like you were a lot more fragile. And that may be because we switched to the new way of balancing things. It very well could be, but it also just feels like you have so much more hit points now that even if you do get crit, it's not dire immediately, Like you can take a few hits before things start to get shaky. Like Chester got walloped on at the end of book 2 by that big clockwork goon, and even was in the blast of Pyronite. And like you weren't doing great, but you weren't like if
Death's
that happened
door.
in like level 3 or 4, you would have been in a bad way.
I will say, being that level made the Pyronite rather underwhelming.
I have
Yeah.
things to say about that. We'll get into that when we start
that's-
discussing
yeah.
our opinions
I,
of book
I
2.
thought, yeah.
Especially with what Psycheer is, because they're a life mystery. They have significantly more hit points than most other casters, even other oracles would.
You have more hit points than Eleanor, I think.
At like first,
Yes.
second level, they're what? Are they a D8 normally?
You're a D8 normally, but you're a
Yes.
D10 because of your thing.
Normally doesn't do much. If you roll well, whenever you get up to like 9th level, that's like 3 extra hits.
Well, you don't roll in 2E.
All right, yeah. I fucked up with that
That's
one.
weird.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, you still have more hit points. You can take AC, it's straight hits. You can take more than either Eleanor or Chester.
No,
And
they
you're the
have
caster.
more hit points than even our melee character.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
But you do need it for things like lifelink
Yeah,
and your
that's-
curse that prevents you from getting magical healing and other
Yeah.
stuff.
It's like, and I
So,
swear your lifelink has kept my characters alive longer, so
yeah.
thank you.
yeah. But let's switch gears a little bit from mechanics and talk themes. Haha, yeah, gears
my
themes.
God.
That's good.
from mechanics, yeah. Okay.
Wow, we're ripping it off today.
So we're Alkenstar.
But in book 1 and book 2, I feel like they had very different. There's a lot of similar elements in this overall story, but I feel like there's definitely different themes highlighted and different feel. As the GM, I feel like book 1, for example, was more frenetic, trying to track something down, whereas book 2 felt slower paced. What do you guys think?
It felt less focused, definitely.
I think because the focus, if you remember the ultimate goal, the focus is there. It just took so long to find Casawana
Yeah.
Yeah.
that it was easy to forget it. It's like, you got to find him, but like, why are we looking for him again? I think Casawana was more than half the book.
Oh, yeah. Casawana was most of the book.
From beginning of the book to when we actually meet him and get back, honestly, the bathhouse doesn't take that long. And then the way we did Muglin didn't take that long. Casawana
Makes
was like,
more sense, though, because he's a relatively high-level character. If he's trying to hide, he's going to hide.
yeah. So like,
Still,
it was
wasn't as
hard
fun.
to remember the overall focus because 2/3 of the book is find this guy. And this is not a complaint, the first part. I loved the eldritch nature of it, but because of the tone change, it was easy to forget it even more.
Yeah.
I was going to say that if you did not have a character in your party who was into Bry lore, it could be potentially really even more derailing. It
Yeah.
helped that we had Psycheer because the whole Cradle of Quartz was straight, like, it was built for a Psycheer character.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
What if
sure.
someone hadn't built such a character for their book?
Yeah. Most people don't like book 2 because it feels like you're just on a wild goose chase. If I had one overall complaint about the whole adventure path, it's that if your players aren't okay with basically going from one kind of goose chase to another, because think about book 1, it's just like, it's
Yeah.
Gattleby, and then it's Powder Keg Punks, and then it's Lyserius, and then like every time you find out something that gets you closer, but it's like that same thing over and over again.
Can I don't know when we were going to do this, but one of the big things I thought about, one of the problems with this overall adventure path so far, is I think the order of operations, the order of things could have been done better.
Yeah.
Not only to make it keep the same theme, but to also keep Lovelace as more of an also central figure. Because I know Kat wanted to talk about this.
Heck yes.
That Lovelace isn't there, except for a brief cutscene in
Yeah.
book
He needs to
1.
be more of a threat.
Lovelace is not there. So I wanted to take this. I thought of a way to rearrange the books to make it make more sense if you'd let me.
Go ahead.
And it's book 1, you don't start off with the bank robbery. You finish with the bank robbery. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Muglin's money problems, in the books, was it specified that those happened because of the bank robbery?
No. So his money problems are all he has a lot of money in getting this whole Pyronite scheme thing to work.
Oh, he's an investor.
He's spent money trying to get Gattleby, right?
Uh-huh.
And then he spent a lot of money when that didn't pan out trying to get the formula. So basically what's happened is he tried to get Gattleby, that didn't work, and then he spent a lot of money in all of book 2 working with the Gilded Gunners to go after Casawana, to reinvent this thing and to start like you get the note like they're starting to like sell it to people. So like there's a lot of money getting invested into making this a product, right? So he's in debt with the Gunners for all this merc work they've done in book 2 around Casawana and whatever else he needs for them to get this product going. So that's why he's in debt with them. But to your point, I think you're right. What I was going to say.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your
All
next
right.
2 books?
Book 1, you start off with Gattleby.
Sure.
You start off, Muglin has, no, not with Gattleby, the combination of Gattleby and Shoma. You would have Muglin invest in Shoma directly. They would be linked directly. He would be a low-level guy that Gattleby has thrown money at. That way, Shoma is directly related. So you would start off, rescue Gattleby.
The Muglin has thrown money at.
Yes, my bad. Muglin has thrown money
To
at
try and
Shoma.
reinvent it or
so
something.
you start off by rescuing Gattleby because the opening cutscene, or at least this is how you would do it, is Gattleby showing it off. So you rescue Gattleby, then you learn about Shoma, you find Shoma, you kill him, and you directly cut off one of Muglin's his investments directly. Then you're strong enough at this point to make robbing a bank make sense.
Right.
So you go to the junkyard to scout your escape route. You go through the same stuff, the goblins, the boat, the mushroom people, but this time it's not you're escaping, it's you're planning your escape. And then you end the book with a bang, the bank robbery at level 4, and at the last thing you do in the book is a chase mechanic with Loveless chasing you.
That would be
way,
awesome.
It's not just a cutscene. Loveless is actively chasing you.
100% agree. Would have made a much better book 1.
Then
like-
you end book 1 robbing the bank, getting a load of Gattleby's money, and that starts book 2 off.
Muglin's money.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And the big danger would be somebody that you're actually going to continue to fight throughout the entire thing, rather than Shoma, who just ends up being a dud.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So Shoma's directly connected to Muglin.
Muglin.
You have a chase mechanic from Loveless, and then book 2 starts off with Muglin behind the scenes. The players might not know this, already deeply in the hole. He didn't expect his bank to get robbed, so now he can't pay the Gilded Gunners. He takes more risks. You can still do the same
Casawana hunt.
but this time the Gilded Gunners actually do also go after him. At the temple, you fight some Gilded Gunners led by a corrupted shield marshal.
Which keeps
That
it
way,
connected to
still
Loveless.
connected to
Yes,
Loveless.
it's showing that she's got her fingers everywhere.
That's right. Then you come back and maybe you don't kill Muglin in book 2. Maybe instead you kill Loveless, because the way the beginners thing makes it sound like
Is Muglin's the big bad.
it makes it sound like Muglin's the big bad and Loveless is a hired
Is
goon.
his
I
his
think-
lackey.
So you kill or you fight, maybe kill Loveless in book 2 rather than Muglin, and then whatever happens in book 3 happens, and the final boss involves Muglin
And a mech
in
suit.
a mech suit,
And I didn't get
which he
that.
paid for with money or had some other investment. It was already there. That way, as by himself, he's weak. But with the mech suit, he is strong,
Hang
which
on.
brings him to your level.
The more that you do against him, the shittier the mech suit is.
You could even incorporate that. So I think a lot of this.
Why does it only have one arm?
Exactly. It's like a
Well,
lot
you know,
of
they
this.
say Pyro Knight costs an arm and a leg, but it only cost me an arm because it had a Gatling cannon on it.
a lot of this could have been reordered, and then Loveless could have become a bigger deal by having chase mechanic and like a shield marshal leading the Gilded Gunners in the mana waste itself.
Yeah.
Because right now I don't give a shit about her. She
And
hasn't
that's-
been present.
That's right.
And that pissed me off because I built a character who had a thing against Loveless.
That's
and
right.
I didn't get the impression reading the player's guide that she wasn't going to be involved ever.
Until book 3.
Well, that's the
And-
thing, is she is involved. It's just, it's never communicated until you hit the book 3, and then you find out what the adventure is really about.
She
Yeah.
should be patrolling. She's a shield marshal. You should
Yes.
have the opportunity, not likely, to run into her in the street and then another
There
chase
should have been
scene.
Yeah.
a chase scene, a teaser, something. Because here I was, I built a character, and from the player's guide, it suggested have a beef against Mugland or Loveless.
Yeah.
And for 2 straight books, I felt like my character had a little bit less it was just helping you hurt Muglin will help me hurt Loveless, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it ticked me off. I didn't know. Had I known, I would not have built a character against
Yeah.
Loveless.
With what I
My-
thought, it makes stuff a lot
Yours
more
sounds amazing.
interconnected and leads from one thing to the other, in my opinion. I also know nothing about book 3, so
If I was going to rewrite this adventure path, I like what you said for book 1. I probably would switch how I think about things to do that. But if I was going to rewrite it, I actually kind of like book 1 as it is. I would have just redone Shoma to be more relevant.
Yeah.
I did like I like the general structure of bank robber at level 1's great for getting as a GM's perspective, for getting a campaign off the ground. That's like a super cool opening act.
It's
even
very
if
It's
it's
so
hard,
fun.
even if it's hard to justify. And then the Gattleby hunt and the chase scene was also fun.
Yeah.
And then the build up to Shoma was really good. It's just Shoma ultimately is a dead end.
you should have been directly connected.
And losing your character to a dead end was pain.
And if Shoma, if you just all you had to do is make Shoma not a dead end and a tie into book 2. I don't know how I would do that off the top of my head, but like it can't be too hard.
He would just be directly tied to Muglin.
What he's
He would be
supposed to do
sponsored by
is
Muglin.
tell you that someone has reinvented Pyro Knight. So all you have to do is have him, be sponsored by Muglin. Muglin stops paying him because he's already found someone else. Like he didn't do it.
Or Muglin is paying him because Casawana is not in Muglin's pocket.
Oh,
so
at that
when
point.
you kill Shoma, he's paid so much money to Shoma only for Shoma to be dead.
Yeah.
And it leads nowhere.
But then Shoma can tell you that like Muglin's frustrated because of all this money, and he's already heard rumors about someone else reinventing it.
There we go.
And so he's cutting him off, right? That's a great lead in to Casawana. A lot of people don't like the Casawana arc. I have no problem with it. I think it's what it is narratively is a great excuse to get you out of the city and into the mana wastes and ride an airship. And that's a ton of fun.
It's so fun.
Horseless dirigibles.
The issue I could see, they're having the whole Casawana thing, and this is like the temple and all that. If you didn't have that, you would run the risk of book 2 being very samey. What are you going to do? More gang stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
More
Rob
bank
another
robberies?
bank.
You
Yeah.
needed something different.
Having the Casawana stuff gave you a lot of new, even if it's a bit of a tonal change. Would you rather have new and exciting, even if it's a bit out there, or would you just have more of exactly the same, which could get very old?
And I thought Casawana was relatively well linked to the rest of the thing with Steaming Kingdom and all that. I thought that worked just fine. So book 2, the only thing I would change about it is not have Muglin be at the end of the book.
You could have had Casawana be sponsored by the Steaming Kingdom, an enemy to Gattleby or something like that.
Well, he doesn't even need to be sponsored. I like his whole tangential thing. The only thing I kind of don't like is whenever I was like, okay, so this guy was able.
There we go. I'm sorry, but like, don't have. I was thinking of how does Casawana know that the Steaming Kingdom was going to be attacked?
If he overheard it in the
Yeah,
thing.
but that's so weak. If a Shield Marshal and Gilded Gunners were to also be going after him in the desert, then they could have told you that.
That's fair. But it's also very easy to fix. I like the derailing side thing to go out into the mana wastes.
Yeah.
My only complaint in terms of the Casawana arc is I was like, okay, this guy reverse engineered Pyronite. Does that mean it's easy to do? And the answer in the book is the dark powers of Yog-Sothoth or whatever are unknowingly moving through this guy, and that's how he was able to reinvent it. And I was like, that is so weak. That needs a better... It doesn't matter for the player side of things, but you need that backup strong reason why Casawana was able to do this, but not anyone else.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. I'd
If
rather
that was
him
the
just
case,
be a
the
genius.
dogs should have been focused around him.
He also doesn't have to have been a Bryite like religiously. He could have been like Gattleby's like best bud from college and was able to just figure it out because he knows the guy, right?
He could have
And
had
then
access
gone to
to
the
old
temple.
notes or something.
Yeah. So like there's way better ways to do it, but the structure is great. The only thing bad about book 2 structurally I don't like is that Muglin's at the end. There's no point. The setup is perfect. You you find Casawana, you find leads to this, things are worse than you thought. And there you have somewhere to go to stop Pyronite from being used. And the Steaming Kingdom thing is great.
The Steaming Kingdom was
Love
fantastic.
that.
Loved it.
And then that leads you into the Gilded Halls, which you guys didn't get to do, which is also a great dungeon. But there's no reason Muglin needs to be at the end of it. Just have it be another narrow miss, like he just got out of jail free, right?
Yeah.
And then you
We
take
see
down the
him
Gilded
escaping
Gunners.
with Loveless,
Even
or
if he was
something.
in debt to them, like that's like his big ally. So just taking them down by themselves would have been a huge, satisfying thing.
You could have replaced the Gilded Gunners leader with Loveless. This
Yeah.
is, of course, operating under the Loveless as a lackey. A high lackey, but a lackey nonetheless.
And then what I'd change
But,
about book 3, obviously, Loveless is the big bad now,
Yeah.
right? What I would change about book 3 is make Muglin the big bad and Loveless be like the halfway boss in book 3, or other way around. Muglin is the halfway boss, and then you find out that, Loveless was really pulling the strings the whole time.
that way
We
they're
should have had
they're both
some
in book
lead
3.
up to figure out that Muglin was not in the best of situations.
But-
it was just all of a sudden he's in debt, he's captured. We didn't even have to do anything. We
Both
can
of
just
them
pay things.
should be in book 3, and one of them should be the halfway book boss, and the other one should be at the end.
The other
That
issue
would be a great way to play
with
it out.
The
Yeah.
end of book 2 is the ending felt a little underwhelming. I don't know if you guys the audience will be able to feel like there's could be multiple reasons. I think we were recording for up to 3 hours by time we killed or beat Muglin in the fight. So we could have been running out of energy. We could have been tired. 2 of us were fresh off being sick, but the ending of book 2 just felt a little underwhelming. And I hate that a clever way of ending it, because you don't often get the solution of not fight dungeon, just buy the bad guy, which is a clever thing, I think, but it was also ended up being rather underwhelming.
You still had to fight. We couldn't just get away with it smugly.
Yeah, we had to, and it was a fight against a guy with two guys with guns.
Yeah, and so I actually want to talk about some book 2 spoilers here, but I was thinking about that fight a lot, like in walks after it. I was like, did I not prepare this well enough? Did I like not see something coming? But no, like I had really done my homework on how to run this the way the book wanted to.
Yeah.
What I didn't anticipate is when you bought him, so like that's part of the thing is if you buy him out, the way the end of the book works is there are a couple different scenarios. Either you meet Sharkosa, if you had gone through the dungeon, whenever you get to her, she's like, hold up, let's talk. I hate this guy.
Would we have still fought through the dungeon?
You would have fought through the dungeon, you get to the room she's in, right?
Would it have been as more populated than just what was in that room, or were all the people in that room what we would have fought through in the dungeon?
It was a little bit more populated.
Okay.
There was a couple more things.
Curiosity.
But like you would have got to that room and she has like her 2 lieutenants and Muglin. Obviously one of them betrays, right?
Yeah.
And so she says, hey, we ain't got to do this. We can fight. If you want to fight, whatever. But we can also, you can buy him out or we can duel over him and you can buy him out for cheaper, right? And so if you just fight, that end of the book fight is a lot harder because you have Sharkosa, 2 lieutenants, and then Muglin, because as soon as you start fighting her, Muglin is going to try to make a break for it with the other guy. And
Muglin being at an equivalent level to us doesn't make much sense when you listen to him, because he's not a fighter. He's a businessman.
Yeah. So like that, the fundamental mistake isn't how
XP.
Which is why honest to God, I love the mech suit idea. That makes him get to your level.
Like the way I ran the thing was straight out of the book. I just think the fundamental problem is Muglin shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You should fight the gunners. You should kill Sharkosa or, get information out of her. And then you should go on to book 3. And even if Loveless is really the big bad, Muglin being the end of there's 3 chapters in book 1. There's the bank and go get Gattleby one. There's the what is it? No, it's the bank is its own chapter with the exiting it and the whole the scrapyard.
Yeah.
Then it's getting Gattleby and getting him back safely. Then it's
his house and the bar,
his house, the chase, and the tavern or the brewery.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter is the powder keg punks and tracking down Shoma and killing him.
Yeah.
And then there was 4. The reason the reason book 2 took so long is there's 4 chapters in it. There's the stuff at the temple, plus Kosawana's workshop.
Yeah.
And then the second chapter is the airship.
Yeah.
The third chapter is the Cradle of Quartz, and the 4th chapter is Steaming Kingdom plus the Gilded Halls.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of content. And then
we really moved it in that one.
Yeah. And then book 3 only has 3 chapters. Muglin should be the boss at the end of chapter 2, basically.
Yeah. If not the big boss, then at least the boss at the end of that. Yeah.
The first chapter is always set up.
A mini boss.
And then the second chapter, there's usually a dungeon somewhere at the end, and there's some sort of mini boss to fight.
Yeah.
If he's not going to be the big bad, he should be there, and he should be a threat to your level at the end of things, you know? And then lead you on to the broader Loveless thing. There's a lot of fun stuff in book 3, but the problem is it feels like the adventure path is trying to be 2, almost 3 different things. Book 1, it's all about Pyronite and Muglin and Gattleby. And then book 2, it's about Muglin and Pyronite, but all of a sudden Gattleby doesn't do anything anymore, which I get, but it's like, I don't know. I don't have a better explanation for that.
Gattleby could have connected you to Kasawana.
That's what I was saying with him being like a classmate or something.
Yeah.
And then you have Kasawana in book 2, but as soon as you get him back, he's also kind of irrelevant for the rest of it.
Yeah, totally.
Gattleby was able to connect us a little bit to Shoma, but not Kasawana.
Yeah.
That was bizarre.
You
he
made
didn't
the
connect us to
connection.
Shoma. We asked him about Shoma.
Yeah, he had this little
Shoma.
bit of him.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he called him a nerd.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
being very Gattleby about it. If
Yeah.
Gattleby and Kosawana were like classmates or something, that would be a really strong
He could have
link.
just said, "Oh yeah, there was one guy who was with me when I was making the beginnings of this formula,"
Yeah.
and then we could be like, "We should go check that out."
Yeah.
Bam.
And then but all up until then, it's
IRS Paizo.
basically just Pyronite and Muglin. Can't let Muglin get away with that Pyronite stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like
Muglin's gone.
Muglin's gone. Pyronite's still a thing, but it was actually Loveless and the play's bigger, you know? She's looking to sell it to people from Nex and Geb. And like it's a cool way to expand the scope, but it should have been alluded to
Yeah.
way before
A lot of
the
the
end of book 2.
Problems here is just that things weren't connected enough. They weren't alluded to enough, and it's who's to blame? I don't think it's the writers of the book. I believe Paizo could have done a better job of doing
Curating
the
it.
overall story.
I think one problem I have overall with this adventure path is though the set dressing of, you know, steampunk slash you know, firearms, whatever other stuff going on in Alkenstar and Western is very good and carries the whole thing through. But I think they really struggle with making Alkenstar's whole magic thing work. We've done it pretty well with Drow and Psycheer,
Yeah.
but we've had to add that in. It alludes in book 1 to like the wild magic stuff happening, but it doesn't tell you a lot of what to do. And then the mana storms you had in the airship were they were fine, but they didn't kind of
It
translate.
felt like a party trick.
We could have
Yeah.
had more of that, actually. When we were traveling across the Mana Waste, we should have had more of that on the ground.
Yeah, and it should do more to give it to you as a GM. I think the little trek through the Mana Waste was fine with the weird things you guys found, but I think the problem is it didn't have enough time to stop and make the Mana Waste feel like a real place.
Yeah.
But like it's really hard. It didn't have enough time to do that. You'd have to do that, and if you have to do that, then you have to change a lot of the structure of the adventure to be about the Mana Wastes.
I want to take a real quick pause here. I liked book 2. I liked book 1. I like this adventure path.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It
It
needs
might-
a mech suit.
It needs mech suit, maybe in book 3. It might not sound like it, but remember, just like if you hate something, it's easy to critique it. If you love something, it's also easy to critique it.
It's
And,
so frustrating because
I
both
enjoyed it, but you can still see the problem.
both book 1 and book 2 were like really fun to run and play, and they just had
so fun.
a stinker end note, and it's just like
Yeah,
come
that's
on.
a fair point.
Because like if you didn't have that stinker end note, it would have been very satisfying, even with the plot problems. But like you can't have Muglin be at the end of book 2, or rather, if you want to be at the end of book 2, okay, but you have to fight him. You can't just buy him out and then get. But the problem is, you guys bought him out. Like, great, now what do we do? You know,
This could be Jacob, but not only did we buy him losing money, we still had to fight him using resources, and we didn't get anything from it.
right?
We
Yes.
obtained no material values.
We weren't even able to have the smug satisfaction of having more money than him because he kicked our asses a little bit.
We couldn't loot a dungeon that we were being friendly to the people in. We couldn't loot the bathhouse. We basically played the last third. We will call it third or quarter.
At a loss.
Quarter of that book at a loss.
We didn't get any cool items.
We did nothing but spend and got nothing back because of the. Now, sure, it was the choices we made, but I also felt like they were sensible choices. Why
Yeah.
would you fight an entire gang when you could just simply pay a pittance for the main bad guy? 500 gold.
We didn't
That's the
even end up
problem.
paying that much.
The problem with the reason that's on me. The book says to scale it to make it hurt more depending on your party wealth.
It hurt, but we didn't pay because we had a party pool. We already had it.
Yeah.
We unintentionally planned ahead for that.
This is a shout out to you guys, listeners. Make sure that you're splitting with one extra person, and that person is the party pool.
It's
Great
such a
for
great thing to have.
healing,
If you had
for
4
curses,
players, it would have
resurrection.
hurt a lot more.
But it still would have been perfectly doable.
Yeah, the book says to make it like really hurt, but just be either feasible or unfeasible. And then the lower price was it should hurt, but not as much. I probably should have made it more like 600 or 700.
I would have been even saltier because, like I said, we've not gained anything from this.
But I was like,
Yeah.
500's fine. Jacob, anything that he has to pay without having to gain anything from a dungeon will hurt so very
But
badly.
like we literally we didn't get any. Did we raid Muglin's? Did we loot him at the end of that?
We can get to that in our next
Does
thing.
he have anything neat?
We need to raid his
have
house.
some nice weapons, but that's
Okay.
about it. You want to know what was in that dungeon? Speaking of like doing spoilers,
No.
Actually,
Jacob.
I do because I'm curious.
He wants to know what he missed out on.
so there was a vault, 120 GP.
This.
There's a gold inlay on something that was worth 20, and then there was another chest that had 300 gold and items, rings, and other jewelry, and gold ore. There was, this is the one that's going to hurt the most. There was an armory. Fun fact from us playing Emerald Spire, there was a hallucination powder trap. Which is very fun.
Yay.
There was this fun, unique clockwork gilded gunner that guarded it.
Oh,
That was
that's
really fun.
And we also didn't get to see the dungeon either.
There were 3. It didn't give me. It says the racks hold 6 common simple weapons, 4 uncommon simple weapons, and 3 uncommon martial weapons.
Ooh.
3 of these weapons are fitted with a +1 weapon potency rune. Include whatever weapons think your party would like best. You know.
Oh, that's nice.
Including firearms, etc., etc. The gold chest contains a bevy of specialized gilded gunner equipment, including a vial of alchemist dampener. I got all these linked, dude. We're going to talk about this cool shit, and you're going to feel so mad and probably just turn around and raid the place. So you had 1 alchemist dampener. A glass tube of mercury is contained within this golden clasp that's fitted on the front of a firearm's trigger. On the triggering strike, the mercury briefly turns to gold, reducing the effect of recoil, allowing you to ignore circumstance penalties of the attached
It's
weapon's
alchemy.
kickback trait. What?
It's just like the penultimate alchemy, except it's not lead.
Yes. That one's fun. There's some other better ones here. 2 golden branding irons. It's a talisman. Gold-plated brand that's affixed to a ranged weapon stock. When you activate the golden branding iron, it's a marking thing. So not as cool, but that was worth a good bit of money.
I can only imagine like putting this thing in the fire, getting it ripping hot so that you're going to like fucking brand somebody and it just fucking melts.
Because cold melts.
Oh, here we go. Let me get to the cooler ones. I had all these linked here to talk about. There was a bunch of gold-cased bullets. Magic infused metal of this bullet's casing allows it to curve just a bit in flight once the bullet has fired, allowing
It's the Patriot arrow?
It's wanted.
allowing you to ignore the bonus to AC granted to a target by lesser cover.
That's nice.
That's really fun.
That's kind of
Really
cool.
nice.
There was a golden silencer.
What?
Yep. How does this work?
So you could shoot and still remain stealthy.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool if I'd still been Al.
A weapon with a golden silencer attached emits no light and makes no noise when fired. A target
my
hit by a ranged strike from an affixed weapon must succeed at a DC 20 fortitude save or be silenced as well at the start of its next turn.
Wow.
Heckin' cool.
Oh, that is. We didn't get anything neat in the last quarter of the adventure.
Yep. And then there's
That would be so good for like a spellcaster
Yeah.
though. If you're a spellcaster and you got hit with that, any verbal component is gone for the next round.
Yeah.
there's a talisman that you could get for your, I think, weapon or something.
Fuck.
It's called liquid gold. This glass vial containing liquid gold is fastened to a weapon by a fine gold chain. This one would have been you can draw the attached weapon as a free action instead of a reaction, which is pretty great.
Hey,
Jacob's face.
Are we going back to that? Are we going back to the Gilded Halls?
No, I have a simpler. Chester's going to die, and I'm just going to play a gilded gunner who raided their vault.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
okay.
go. Easy enough.
All right. So how are we doing this like Lyrian via Vidrender?
Listen, Psyche here is just going to kill Chester in his sleep.
Okay, so yes.
We'll find a reason. We'll make one up, and then
Brad's dumb. Bam!
Muglin's dead. Don't need you no more.
These are some cool items we missed out on. Maybe we shouldn't have paid off.
There's another one
Yep.
called a gyroscopic stabilizer. It's a gold disc suspended with 3 rotating gold bands
Yeah.
inside a gilded case. Itself attached to a set of clamps. These clamps allow you to attach this gyroscopic stabilizer to any one-handed firearm as an interact action. You activate one action interact frequency once per hour. If it's attached to a one-headed firearm with the fatal or fatal aim traits, the gyroscopic stabilizer begins spinning for 1 minute. While the gyroscopic stabilizer is spinning, the weapon it's attached to gains the fatal aim weapon trait with 1 die larger size than its damage die, maximum D12. This allows you to wield it in 2 hands to grant it the fatal trait. So it's fun little things for it. A lot of this stuff was built for like gunslinger characters, but it's some really cool
Obviously.
items.
And if you buy Muglin, you get nothing.
Yep. See ya, chump.
If you buy Muglin, do you get to go into
It
debt?
sucks because I think you guys would have liked the end of this book a lot better if you hadn't have gotten to Muglin the way you did.
Yeah.
Because what you're supposed to do, and what was hard for me because of the way the book set up that fight in the Steaming Kingdom, it gave me all the
straight from there.
Yeah. It gave me all the stat blocks for these guards, but it really feels like they're just there.
Yeah.
And you use them if you need them. They don't actually fight because them fighting made that fight super easy.
Well, so we were supposed to go from the Steaming Kingdom
Directly and follow them when they ran away.
and theoretically raid that dungeon right afterwards.
Ramsley has charm as a backup, but like
That would've
because
been-
of the questions you asked,
That would
there
have
was
been hard.
no reason for her to not say like, oh yeah, she is pissed at this guy because he owes her money, and then you guys caught on and you used her to get in. But if you had, it is hard, but the dungeon's not too bad because it knows that you've just done all the Steaming Kingdom stuff. They're technically together in terms of game balance, right? So
Okay.
it expected you to go, and then you would have fought through the whole thing. You would have gotten loot, and then you would have seen Sharkosa and Muglin, and then you either could buy Muglin at that point, and you've gotten loot at that point to justify it.
Here, you can have some of your shit
Buy,
back.
buy Muglin back with their own gold.
With their own money.
Yeah. Or, you know, at that point, you're also like a little weaker, so just fighting Muglin by himself, maybe not hit point wise, but resource wise, would have been a bigger ask.
Yeah.
Less alchemical items, less higher level spells, right? So, like, I think if accidentally we've given ourselves a worse version of this ending, if you had gone through chasing him to the hideout and going through the whole dungeon, it might have been, it still would have sucked to fight Muglin at the end of book 2, straight up.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have felt as shitty.
Yet the option was still built in from the beginning.
What do you mean?
We could just go there and ask to buy Muglin. We didn't have to fight through the fighting through the dungeon wasn't something you had
I
to
was
do.
going to
But
ask.
if you had gone there and didn't have Gertrude to basically intercede for you,
Yeah.
you would have gone in. There's like traps everywhere. You would have triggered the alarm.
That would've
You
been
start fighting through the dungeon.
Yeah, that sure would have been fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it would have felt less underwhelming had we actually done the dungeon.
That dungeon's actually really fun because your characters just saw like a bunch of doors on the walls. Over half the doors, if not more, are these explosive door traps where there's nothing behind it and you have to make a perception check. Otherwise, you open it, it just boom, blows up in your face.
That's neat.
It's a really cool trap. I really like
real
it.
Neat.
It's like they shouldn't build such a cool dungeon and then give you the chance to circumnavigate it that easily.
But that's the thing. I don't think the book did that. I think I did that much because you didn't get to chase a gunner away. I should have been stronger about having them leave and you having to chase them.
But like, how are they going to leave when?
Exactly, because
Yeah, how?
you have the front room fight and then you find out the other fight's happening and you have
the,
to go there.
the rats and golem happen.
And
last.
there's no way those rats and everybody, even if I hadn't done the guard thing, there's no way it would have been 2
They're
rats
behind everybody.
and 2 gilded gunners. There's no way you would have been able to do that. Yeah, and get back, have them run back out through everything. You would have destroyed them.
Yeah.
You know, I think they should have had a way to connect Steaming Kingdom to the Gilded Halls in such a way that you don't, because with the charm, like it's very obvious to come up and roleplay when you're talking about Muglin that everyone hates Muglin there because he just owes them a lot of money. He's just sitting there. That's him being a prisoner there is going to come up if you charm them. There's no way around it. So it should have had be a surprise, and then you buy Muglin, whatever. That's the shitty part of the thing. But you at least have this fun like dungeon crawl in the Gilded Halls before that, anyway, right? So I don't know. Yeah, an audience. Yeah, I know
there
it
are
sounds
feelings
like
about this,
we
y'all.
hated this, but like the book was really good all up until the last minute. Like the Steaming Kingdom, the whole thing
Loved
was
it.
a bop until it was like up until you got to The Gilded Halls. Even the idea of buying Muglin was cool until you actually did it, and then it suddenly be like, huh.
And the Cradle of Quartz was awesome.
Yeah,
like
I loved it.
I loved getting the Eldritch bits. It was unexpected. Didn't expect, Eldritch horrors in the middle of my
Creepy.
steampunk Western world.
Loved it.
On that note, why don't we move away from critiquing the book? I think we've talked about that ad nauseum. Let's get into either some more spoilers or some questions. Let's see here. Jacob, do you have one straight away?
Tell me about the passengers that we didn't get. Was there anything unique that we
geez.
didn't find out about them?
Yeah, tell me about the really pretty passenger that passed us up.
Genasi? Air Genasi? Water Genasi?
Was she a sylph?
A Genaiken?
Janaiken.
What was their thing? We learned about the bug, which I think is probably the coolest one.
That was awesome.
The Gilded Gunners.
All right, so you did Brem and Finn.
Yeah.
You got their whole
so
deal.
glad we did.
The only thing it says they're a married couple prone to impulsive travel decisions and constant arguing.
You did that right.
That's about all it
Toxic
did.
gays.
We got the former Shield Marshal.
Mr. Fly was the name of the Migo disguised as a human merchant. A malevolent alien entity masquerading as a quiet Katapeshi carpet seller is glad to pay his own fee for a trip to see the spell scar. Along the way, he hopes to test his strange technology on fellow passengers. Specifically, Mr. Fly's luggage includes a pollutant spewing device called a smogger, whose effects is yet to witness on the living. What is a smogger, you might ask? I'd actually have to pull up the PDF.
Ask.
An Amazon warehouse.
Oh,
I'm actually going to have to open the PDF. This is book 2 stuff I haven't looked at in a hot minute. Or is it in the Nethys?
Smogger equipment.
Yep.
Yep, from Outlaws of Alkenstar Adventure.
There it is.
600 gold pieces.
Yep.
Oh,
I did
buddy.
not want to fight that thing. I can live without 600 gold pieces. That thing, I remember the stats on that thing. That thing was horrifying.
Some mutants savor the acrid smog of Alkenstar and the gunworks. A smogger recreates this pollution by sucking in clean air and spewing it back out as pungent smog.
This is a level 9 item.
It's very powerful.
It poisons you. DC 32 fortitude save.
Deadly.
And he was
Jesus
immune
Christ.
to the smogger, so he was going to test it on people randomly while you were there. So he was one of the, I think in the episode that some passengers could have made things complicated.
Yeah.
And he was one of them. You got the most calm ones.
Yeah.
The Samsarin, the lady, is Tankira, TAN space QIRA,
Cool name.
is eager to explore beautiful places. She spends the voyage drawing landscapes in a thick sketchbook and writing poems. That's the only other good traveler.
That's nice. That's pleasant.
Usuvu. Do I really need to say more?
We loved Usuvu.
My beloved.
She was a devout follower of Barnaral, the Imperial Lord of Creativity, Innovation, and Persistence. Usuvu was
The
alerted to the
Imperial Lord?
party's interest in Pyronite and the Cradle of Quartz by informants within the Temple of Bry. She
knew
wishes
shit?
She wishes to find Kosawana so she can aid him in keeping Pyronite from the masses.
Whoa!
Usuvu knew shit?
Yep.
No
Well,
wonder
know
she was
that?
so willing to come along with us.
That makes sense now.
Good thing she was an ally the
Yep.
whole time.
Yep.
That makes much more sense, actually.
She
why
regularly
came.
agrees to accompany the party and pays her own fee, but she acts suspiciously and refuses to reveal her agenda to the player characters unless they prove her attitude helpful. I just had her be like,
We never even asked. They're just like, all right, you come along. We like you.
and then Wit.
Played us like a
What
fiddle.
would have happened if we had taken Wit, the poor, pitiful dude?
He would have died.
A young man looking for adventure is eager to join the expedition, but has spent all of his ready coin on a second-hand sword. The party will need to
Wit.
pay for Wit's ticket if they want him to join, and he was very weak. He would have
I couldn't
died.
tell.
He was a commoner, which
love
may I remind you is a creature -1. His bonus to hit is +5.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bless his
That
heart.
would have been fun. He would have gotten destroyed.
He would have been killed by the manticore or the not harpies.
Yep.
Sheesh. Had we accidentally taken the bug creature, he would have been the bug creature's first victim.
The two people, Hiram Bridges, which is a pseudonym, and Esteri Wystone, which these fucking names, dude, or both Gilded Gunner assassins in disguise become available as potential passengers if the player characters aren't discreet in their search for passengers. Actually named Rice and Sal Rufon, these siblings...
Oh, they're siblings.
They posed as being married.
Oh, that's a little weird.
They pose as merchants seeking passage to Cloud Reaver Keep. In fact, they are Gilded Gunners sent by Muglin to follow the party and locate Kosawana.
How did he lose all of his money that fast?
Also, how did he know about us at this point? That's one of my questions. How does Muglin know about us?
I didn't think about it, and I was just hoping that you guys would notice so I wouldn't have to explain it. Because I didn't know. You guys were covering your tracks so well. If he had gotten them there, then I'd have to make some shit up.
How does the book expect Muglin to have known about us? Does it not give it? Okay, that's what I thought.
It also, there's an encounter you avoided where if the Spjorb you found in Kosawana's workshop gets away.
That would do it.
That would make more sense, but we found
much more sense.
We found them all.
I think I was very generous on letting you guys fight the Spjorbs.
Really?
Because it feels like it's supposed to just be like you poke around the wrong place.
They get away.
Get away.
Yeah.
But that would also feel unfair.
There's an event though that if they do get away, you get like ambushed in the street by some Gilded Gunners.
That would have been neat.
Yeah, I agree. I probably should have done it, but
No,
let you guys fight them.
I think giving us the chance to stop them was also fair.
Yeah.
And then there's Celessa, a former shield marshal turned big game hunter.
Oh, hell yeah.
Though Celessa has many principles, courage isn't among them, and she's keen to see what spellscar beast she can take down from the safety of an airship.
Celessa is
fair enough.
poacher? A pussy?
I think Celessa is just, I played her as, I ain't doing that shit.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Celessa is a coward?
That's what it says. Listen, this is all, you get like a sentence for each of these things and you got to like make a whole person out of it. So I also kind of just go off what I think the character would do, what's convenient for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the passengers. That's all of them.
I can't imagine her being cowardly.
Yeah, she seemed like badass.
Yeah.
She also
I liked
had
her.
very convenient excuses to stay behind. So we wouldn't have ever thought otherwise.
Let's see here. Oh, did robbing the bank tie in directly with Muglin's having money problems? It doesn't say so. This is another question
How
Jacob
much
had for me, but it
money
doesn't say so.
Did we actually take from the bank? Does it ever tell you?
It never tells you. Which honestly, listen, as a GM is the correct way to do things. As soon as you write something down, it might be wrong later.
But like, I feel like one reason, like, I feel like Paizo could have given this information to, because the books were written by different people.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have
So this is the
had them
problem
interact better.
that I had with it. I know we're getting back to critique here with both Pyronite as it's shown in the book and the amount of money it costs for Muglin. These are both written to make sense for characters of your level, and they fit within the game balance, the amount of gold that Muglin would cost and owed, and the strength of Pyronite. But the problem is making them fit in the game at this point in the story undercuts how much money Muglin is hinted to have and how strong Pyronite is hinted to be, right? So I think they blew the lid too early, and if they're going to do Pyronite, it should have been a very high level item that wasn't accessible to you and actually did do some damage.
Yeah.
I think having it in the story is cool, but it should have been structured differently to be more impressive. And also, if Muglin was in debt to the Gilded Gunners, maybe just like having an astronomically high figure that was unaffordable for you outside of it, the GM just handing you a pile of money. I think that should have been what they did.
Yeah.
Make him unaffordable, because then it makes it feel real.
What if we had killed Muglin in the fight and didn't get to interrogate him?
Oh, it has a cop-out thing for that. Let me get to that fight.
As it should.
And also, because I feel like
Because you could get lucky and kill a boss.
What would have happened with Kasawana if Saikir hadn't recruited him?
Oh, here we go. Yes, that's a good
I mean,
question.
what has happened with him? Nothing. Probably the same
Oh,
thing.
it's actually more interesting if other things happen. But for Muglin, if you kill him, it's also fine if the player characters kill Muglin before he can reveal these details. Impressed by the character's ruthlessness, Sharkosa is happy to share the following information, which she also knows from questioning Muglin.
That's fair. That's fair.
If the party kills both Sharkosa and
I was
Muglin,
about to ask.
Now what?
before either of them can give these pertinent details, Dunsmith tracks down the information and fills the characters in at the end of the adventure or just before the start of the next.
Fair enough.
That's good adventure
Fair
writing
enough. Yeah.
right there.
The only thing that may have been a little bit better is finding notes in Sharkosa's desk or something like that. But that's just also going down the typical
Well, that also
journal route.
depends on, unless you give it to the characters, if you don't search well enough, you miss key story information.
Yeah, but then the DM would have been
I feel like Phoebe should have been after the journal, after we visited his house, after we've done some more work. I feel as though this adventure path struggles a little bit with, oh, here's the information. Here's what you need. In fact, I know a guy. Here's where you can go to get this. It's too handholdy at points in time.
I hear, yeah, it's why, yeah.
That's like I said, it feels like one wild goose chase to another, kind of. But like, you get there and it's like, oh, it's over here. Oh, no, it's over here. But like, and I will say,
It's a game of keep away.
Scooby-Doo running back and forth.
that feeling does continue in book 3, but from what I've read in my prep for book 3, it feels more like investigating, chasing leads kind of in
That's
book 1.
cool.
And that's different, you know? You're trying to get to something, you know? Like right now, you know some big bads.
Yeah.
And you have to find out basically how to stop them.
Casawana.
So this is great.
You hinted at already, like when we were talking to him, things could have happened with him, and I'm so curious.
So after he gives you information, it says Casawana isn't interested in discussing any of his previously held conspiracy theories about time travel or the power of quartz crystals. He takes the first opportunity to burn all his notes and the few books he brought with him, renouncing his faith in Bry and the world in general. If it ever comes, obviously you guys stepped in before he had this, crisis. If it ever comes, recovery for Casawana will take time and support from friends or family, assets he currently lacks. If the characters don't intervene,
Yes, I don't like that he's so pathetic too.
Yeah.
It makes him feel like he
had an existential crisis.
yeah. The thing is, he's supposed to be really, really cool, and then we find him and he's basically a wet kitten.
Yeah. If the characters don't intervene, Casawana turns to the worship of Grotus, god of
Holy
the end
shit.
times.
Hot dog, yeah.
Over the next several weeks. In the months to come, he becomes a fanatical doomsayer, preaching on the street corners of Alkenstar,
Yes!
prophesying the end of the world at the hands of those who wield powerful explosives like Pyronite.
We could have stumbled upon him street corner preaching in book 3. That would have been hilarious.
It's honestly, I like what you guys did with Casawana.
Yeah.
It was
lot.
a great story moment for Psyche.
It worked really well for your guys' specific story, but honestly, having him go back to the barrel and bullet and just kind of figure out how to put his life back together is not as entertaining as finding him as a doom preacher.
I mean, a broken person losing everything is more entertaining, always, almost.
I love Grotus.
But I like that they thought that out. That's very fun.
That was very good. I thought that was very well written there.
Well,
it's too late for him now.
Psyche
You can
is
still drop him like he's hot.
marginally better than Grotus.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
That's why I had it happen the way it did, because I was like, this is perfect. You're trying to do this whole new religion thing, and this guy's so very vulnerable. And if you don't, he's going to worship Grotus anyway.
Oh no, I'm like the chick tracks at the therapy clinics.
I mean, it's a cult. You got him.
Got him.
I got him.
Get those vulnerable people. Woohoo!
Oh, man. Let's see. Let's look at some more questions here.
Oh no.
It's what a cult is. What cult do?
Here, so I got some just real quick rapid fire ones because we've been going a while. This is going to be a long catching up.
Sure is.
Favorite moments of book 2, really quick.
It's Yogg-Sothoth, my guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh yes.
God. Okay. I like the Steaming Kingdom as a whole, as a dungeon, as a fun encounter, a long encounter. But I love Cthulhu nonsense. Give me that Yogg-Sothoth,
It was
my
shoved
guy.
in very nicely.
I really liked the airship.
That's why I thought so.
Like the ballistas on the airship and all that.
Oh yeah.
That was fun.
Sick as hell.
Oh.
What about you, Drow?
The unexplainable that is all throughout the Mana Wastes. Squid.
Yes.
Sand people.
Yep.
The entirety of the Cradle of Quartz.
The mummy coffin.
Oh,
The
Scarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
Yes. Oh, that thing is awesome.
Oh.
That was probably my favorite monster run in this book, the Scarcophagus.
The fact that there's an entire subplot with the 13th Ordinal.
Yeah.
from the Bryite point of view, and we figure out that not only was this not just any guy, but this was Yog-Sothoth.
Yeah. Oh.
It's sick. Yeah, like we said, we can critique book 2 a lot, but like it had some really fun stuff.
Listen to us nerd out about our favorite moments.
As far as mechanics go, Scarcophagus was the coolest creature. As far as role-playing a creature goes, Squid all the way.
Oh my god!
I was really excited to run the Clockwork Sphinx, but you guys were really hot on to how to deal with Clockwork at that point, so it did not last long.
Yeah.
I liked meeting Masu the kitty and the kid.
Worst fight of book 3. Not the Muglin one. It was the stupid clerics, the Hyrexans, 3-action harm, 3-action heal, 3-action harm, 3-action heal.
Fuck.
Chester sits outside the room. You guys done yet?
It was a cool fight, but it took forever. I'm not sure if it came through in the edit because we worked real hard to make it go fast, but it was so
It was a slog.
infuriating.
Fighting the ghost who couldn't hurt Chester stands out to me. Cause
Yeah.
I mean,
That was great.
come on.
Oh, the dog fights were genuinely terrifying.
That was
A
Dog was
guerrilla
the
warfare
scariest
fight.
thing you fought in that book.
That-
the dog was a higher level than Muglin.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
no!
I'm pretty sure.
Why is it always dog?
Why is it always dog?
So related to this, there's favorite moments, but were there any things you wish you could have done something different in book 2?
I mean, I already went through all that.
Yeah,
I would.
you would have gone through the Gilded Halls.
Yeah, I would have loved to have a better fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have killed Muglin in a more hands-on way.
Just right there, right after you
Like
got
in
the
the middle of a
information.
battle.
No, I was honestly thinking of taking a page out of the Mechanicus book of turning him into basically
A servitor skull.
a servitor skull. Yes,
That would have been yeah. Yeah.
Pretty sick, not gonna lie.
A more resounding final fight.
something to actually feel better about the fact that we lost Al in chasing this guy down, only to find out that he was like 5 doors down, hanging out with people.
Yeah, like we had a straight up like character death and everything, and nothing. It never felt too satisfying of like of a revenge or something.
Again, having Shoma directly connected to Muslim would have been great.
Yep. Same
I don't
thing
even
with-
think I would have been nearly as mad about losing Al if it had been in a battle that was more connected.
I would have actually taken Slick with me.
Yeah, take Slick.
That would have been fun. What is the most unexpected thing that happened from your perspective?
Yog-Sothoth, my guy!
Yeah.
The chance that we could have met an alien bug person.
Yeah.
The fact that there were 2 like opposing forces in the Cradle of Quartz, which was Yog-Sothoth, I'm gonna fuck with time, and the dog that's like, hey, you done fucked with time.
Yeah.
It was like stepping into a battlefield almost.
Well, I mean, it's the dog comes because you fucked with time, you know?
Yeah, I know.
And then Yog-Sothoth is the thing of time. He's like, hey, my turf.
It's like,
Get off.
and the airship. I freaking loved the airship. I wanted to spend more time on the airship.
I don't think that was unexpected, though.
Well,
to be
no,
fair.
no.
But
saw
I'm
the
just
cover
gonna
of book
nerd
2,
for a
so.
second.
Yeah.
I love like dirigible blimp. The idea of travel that way, like that was my jam.
Yeah. Let's see.
I love talking to the first kiss and then, or the harpy's kiss, and then being able to interact with the second kiss.
That was set up so well.
They set that up, which is unimportant to the story.
But
it was
so
so
They
cool.
couldn't set up better connections for anything related to Muglin. We're done with that already. But still.
It's like we said, like it's so good except for like the end of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like ending on and missing the last key of a symphony. It's just like, oh, come on. You know, they got all the little things really right and fun, but the overall things feel a little weakly held together.
Yeah.
Then on that note, did you think this was a 4-chapter book, and we felt it because it took 40 episodes instead of 30 for book 1? Was it too long?
I feel like Kasawana was the main theme for 3/4 of this book.
It should have ended
It should have ended when you found him.
in the Cradle of Quartz.
But at that point, it would have been an underwhelming ending because it would have not been related to the overall story at all.
Yeah.
It's like, but I loved the Steaming
set
Kingdom.
up for that too. There could have been a fucking like what's the word that I'm looking
if
for?
they had changed
A
things.
prophecy or something. I know that the Age of Omens is dead. No
Well,
omens here.
There's still prophecies.
But there's a time god that was being basically physically interacted with. There could have been an evil omen going on. We could have found Kasawana just plate-eyed, completely blind. I have peered into the future and I saw Alkenstar completely
In
combusted.
flames.
Yes.
Yes. Like that, yeah. So
Creepy vibe.
If they had altered things a little bit, they could have ended it.
It's so
with
close.
The Cradle of Quartz.
Every book, it's so close to being a banger. But like the big structure elements are a little wrong. It's like you said with book 1, you don't have to add or change much of the actual content.
Just swap
You
it around.
Swap it around and swap some motivations in.
and add some interconnecting elements.
It's just the glue that holds it together. The actual pieces are all so interesting and fun.
So fun.
yeah.
That could have been where he found out about the Steaming Kingdom. From staring into the future while interacting with Yog-Sothoth.
Yeah.
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 Then last one I had for you guys is, what are your book 3 predictions?
Yog-Sothoth, my guy. He's coming back with a vengeance.
Dude,
hope
whenever I asked
so.
about the unexpected things, I was like, there's so many in book 2. So yeah.
Really want to see some fun stuff from Nex and Geb. Like some flesh warps or something? That'd be dope. Or
I hope it completely subverts my expectations.
that too, but as long as the subverting is enjoyable. Buying Muglin was also subverting expectations, but wound up not being enjoyable.
I want a satisfying fight to the death with Loveless.
Yeah, that'd be nice too. I don't care. I want Muglin in a mech suit.
Maybe his body will wash up in Geb.
And he becomes a zombie
Flesh warp.
person in
Yes.
flesh warp in a mech suit.
Give me, maybe it doesn't have to be Muglin, but at this point,
Give
it does
me a
have
mech
to
suit.
be Muglin. A clockwork mech suit.
Listen, I'll spoil this tiny a bit about book 3 as a GM. It has some of my favorite enemies in it out of the whole adventure path. There's some really good ones. And it has some horrifying ones. If you think the dog was bad, the dog was also bad because it was way over you and it had these weird tactics.
Yeah.
But if you think the dog was annoying and bad at what we can do, there's one enemy in this book that's unique to this book that is terrifying. But it's also really cool. All right, so we do have some questions that you guys have for me. I see here in our little document. Someone asked if what fight had me questioning your viability as a team. I'll say, as your GM, I have never really questioned your viability. I thought your party was pretty well structured, all things considered, for 3 people.
I was about to say, for 3 people, we've got about the best we can.
Yeah.
Because we have a healer and 2 loose... Chester I've built for
You're a
damage
ranged
dealing.
damage dealer.
So we have a healer and 2 damage dealers. If we had a 4th person, they could be really big for buffing or debuffing. But for a 3-person party, that healer was shockingly important.
Yeah.
This one was me, and it was more so about the way we interacted with it. Just like, did we get along as a team, or were there parts where we all wanted to do something different and we fell apart?
Like roleplay narrative-wise?
Both.
Because mechanically, I thought you guys were great. The only times you were struggling was with the dog, but that's just the dog. That's not you guys. At least from my perspective.
This strikes me as the kind of question, comparing it to a Reign of Winter game, Lyrian and Drinder going through 2 different doors because we couldn't agree on which door to go through. That's the kind of thing that question makes me think of.
No, you guys stuck together. I think, Eleanor's motivationally had the harder time because the adventure path just hasn't focused on Loveless till now.
And then it's only Loveless, which is weird.
And you guys waffled together at the end on what to do with Muglin. But I don't think that's like anything against your team. I think that's just the adventure path.
We were at 3 hours at that point, I believe.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get there. And ideally, we would have ended that episode after the fight, but then that would be an entire whole episode on just what to do with Muglin, which is way too much for that little thing.
It needed to end. Like, obviously, technically, book 2 hasn't ended because you still have to go back to Phoebe.
Yeah.
And that's where it technically ends. But, like, that's like a sentence, So, but the plot of book 2 has ended.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't going to end that episode until book 2's plot had been resolved. You going back to Phoebe is a fine start for book 3. You don't have to make it back.
Yeah.
Mugland had to die or be taken care of in some way at the end of book 2 before we could say hit end on that recording. What fight did you have excellent strategy in or synergy in? Synergy,
Sphinx fight?
I was going to say that one was pretty good, but that was more just Chester finally realizing how much electricity damage hurts clockwork things, because you shredded it. And no, you did have synergy because you handed Eleanor some of your bought, I think, or crafted alchemical bottled lightning, and then Psycheer kept everyone up, but Psycheer didn't have a lot to do in that fight. The 3-action harm heal fight was good, but Chester wasn't a part of it, so I don't know if that counts for a synergy thing. The rest of everyone was having a great time, because Psycheer was like putting out the energy burst, and Usuvu and Eleanor were taking down the clerics one by one.
Yeah, we were getting
I was
healed.
about to say, I think when Usuvu was with us, it was a lot better to have some of that. When I think it's how everybody was useful in a single fight, and some of the times when Psycheer casts lifelink on Chester throws bombs. He's not always up in the front. So it's almost like half the spell isn't being used. But when you were able to cast that on Usuvu and Eleanor, then Chester was in the back throwing bombs. You were able to deal damage or heal as needed. I think when we had that fourth person, the synergy worked really, really well. It works well regardless, because without a fourth person, people will also go after Chester, but he has that option of standing back and throwing.
And we had 2 melee people using each other to create that flanking bonus, and like the build that gave and dropped AC rates, because Chester typically stayed back.
Yeah.
Someone asked me what fight was the most interesting to run. I really have 2 candidates for 2 different reasons. All the dog fights before you fought it in the final room were very fun for me to run, because it was a big positional chess thing with the corners and catching you at the right time, and you having to stop those corners from happening, but also deal with that gaze. Like, there was a lot of like challenges for me to set up for you with that.
That is a fight that would have been very difficult without a map.
Oh, it would be very hard without a map. Yeah, it would be almost impossible. The other fight I would say is the big one that happened in the Steaming Kingdom. There were 2 separate encounters with initiative, but they're really all the same fight. They just give you, technically, you have like a minute in between that fight, first one ending, and then the gunners coming in, and then you should run straight to the Gilded Halls. And I think you have time to like heal yourself up then. I let you have 10 minutes because you're only 3 people, and like one of the characters had soloed the div.
Yeah.
But there was such a cool thing, because the fight started and everyone was scattered, and you had to like come together, and then the gunners came in, and then there was like multiple things happening. This ties into the next question. The next question is there anything I would want to change? I just really wish I didn't bother rolling the guards. The guards made that fight so much more of a pain in the ass. And what's supposed to happen is the ones that Eleanor basically manhandled coming into the front door are really just to keep you pinned down, while the others, it has a round by round of what happens. They go into the kitchen. It just says, at this round, they enter the kitchen. At this round, they kill the guards there and enter the thing. At this round, they've disabled... or not disabled, they've reprogrammed the Clockwork Door Warden. So, like, I was looking, and I rolled, like, the one round of them in the kitchen with the guards. Like, there's no way these guys are going to beat these stupid fucking guards.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, they die. I'm sorry. The adventure says this is what happens. There's no way if I roll this that this will happen like this.
That's also very kind of immersion breaking when you find out about it.
Yeah.
It's like, if these guys are so weak, how do they kill them anyway?
Yeah, I don't know why they shouldn't have given me the stat box for the guards. They should have said, here, if you absolutely need it, here it is. Otherwise, specifically in the text, the guards fighting are like flavor, right? They're shooting, like the civilians hiding are flavor. They don't get in the way of the actual combat.
Yeah, because
So-
I think the guards could have handled that without us.
Because what should have happened is there should have been 4 enemies in that room, and you would have been tied down for like 1 extra round in the main room, wiping up those Gilded Gunner assault force, right? And then boom, the Pyro Knight goes off, and you're like, oh fuck, run over to the other room, deal with the first 2 Gilded Gunners while the Safecrackers are going at the last one. That's a challenge, because another spoiler here for that. Let me read you actually what happens if they get through their whole thing. This is like a huge list of round by round stuff. Yeah. Round 1, assassins enter, blah, blah, blah. Round 2. Round 3, the Safecrackers enter area E10 and are engaged by the elite Clockwork Door Warden. There we go. Ramsley retreats to her inner sanctum, which you never saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rounds 4
Yeah.
through 6 is just the combat turn in the common areas turns into a shootout with the Gilded Gunners, guards and patrons hunkered behind tables or corners firing wildly. At the end of the 6th round, the Safecrackers in area E10 disable the elite Clockwork Door Warden. That's the round you entered in.
Yes.
Placing it into standby mode with orders to attack anyone not wearing the color gold. Round
Smart.
7, Safecrackers use an insistent door knocker to enter Ramsley's office.
Insistent door knocker.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I did this wrong, but I was trying to let the Pyro Knight go off once. So basically the way it worked is I had them use the Pyro Knight on that door because I was like, these guys aren't making it to the inner sanctum. There was the door to the office. There was the secret door to her inner sanctum. And then she had a vault past that. They're supposed to use the first charge on the door to the inner sanctum, the hidden one, and then realize, oh, fuck, this isn't a vault. Then do it in there, right? Basically, that's how it's supposed to work. But whenever Chester entered in and then like everyone else came in, I was like, these guys are not very high level. They're dead, like they barely got that 1 charge off, right? I made the GM decision either out of mistake or out of necessity. It's been so long since we've done this fight that I can't remember why, that I was like, the Pyro Knight has to go off. Like that's the whole point of this fight is it has to go off. So I had to go off there. And then we would have done it differently. But basically, if I hadn't had the stupid guard things, those 2 assassins would have been in the kitchen pantry area. You have to like contend with them.
getting cheese and crackers.
By the time you contend with them, you deal with the door warden, and they've already blown open the door to Ramsley's like sanctuary. And then now that the race is on, do you fight everyone in front of you? Or do you beeline it to stop these guys from using Pyro Knight? And then the chase to get away becomes more viable. But because it gave me the stat box for the guards and they were entered in on the Foundry module, I was like, well, I guess they're supposed to be in the fight.
Yeah. It also would have been weird to have them have no effect in the fight with there being so many guards in there. And it'd be like playing Call of Duty and you have 20 people around you and yet only you can shoot the enemies.
They should have just had less guards and none of them should have been in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Or like...
Less guards, lower stats, or Ramsley was more concerned.
Yeah, weaker guards would have made a difference as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, the lower stats. That way the Gilded Gunners would have been tougher than these people.
Yeah, because if you have them, when they enter the kitchen, actually fight the guards, like I did for 1 round, I was like, they're getting hurt.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going well. They're supposed to chuck in those like flashbangs, essentially, come in and slaughter them.
Or heck, make Pyro Knight more powerful and have a third thing where they can just blow up the guards in the kitchen and then go through.
Yeah, yeah.
Preach and clear.
The funny thing is that Ramsley's vault doesn't have any money, really, or barely has any money in it.
So, wait. So you, once again, us being there to stop them ultimately didn't make a difference?
No, this is the thing. This is intentional on the Adventure Paths part. It gives the information about the door. The vault swings open to reveal a series of shelves meticulously organized and labeled. Small boxes and bags sit on each shelf. Here, Ramsley keeps her most sensitive documents and plans, as well as her emergency funds and blackmail materials. So she has money, but most of her true wealth is tied up in other business ventures and fees she pays her network of informants and spies. It is written like this because Muglin thinks he's going to score.
Yeah.
but he also hates Ramsley, and Ramsley barely knows who he is. So he thinks he's going to score, and there's actually no money here. And that's important because it wants you to have the option to buy him out, and he was never going to get enough money to pay back anyway. It was all intentional because he's just stupid.
And that takes away from him fucking
Being
us
a
over.
big bad.
Yes.
Muglin
Agreed.
was too incompetent
Yeah.
from what they built him up to be. And as much as I like a subversion, it's got to be good. And that's just not good.
It should have revealed that Lovelace was the brains. There should have been some sort of connection there.
Yeah.
Everything is so disjointed in this that it makes it feel as though it's,
Muglin's stupid.
it makes it feel like this is my characters or my players did something I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Shakes dice, throws it. He's actually here.
Yeah.
Muglin had his, I know a good adventure opening is good, but it also, I feel, has to make sense. Muglin kept his money in a level 1 bank.
Yeah.
This big crime boss. Muglin floundered after Gattleby, even though he knew where he lived. He waited for somebody else to do something first. He couldn't get Casawana. That was explained. Casawana escaped legitimately. I get that. He didn't know enough about his opponents to invest. He's supposed to be a businessman who's competent. That's how he has this network.
He's not a crypto
to
bro.
screw all of us over. He screwed over. He has connections in the temple. He has connections in the academy.
And with the shield marshals.
The shield Martians.
Him working with Shoma would have been a better example of him having connections in the academy.
That's my big gripe when you brought up at the end, like what happened to Chester, right? Is they have these backstory hooks. And I know they expect you to flesh it all out, but it feels like one of those 5e things. It's like, okay, well, that's a lot of work to do all the work. You should have kind of like how Blades in the Dark has rivals and whatever.
Yeah.
You should have like NPCs pre-made, even if it's just one sentence. Like, here's one for the college, here's one for Bry, here's how, expelled from the church, school, what have you, right?
Yeah.
They have to, they have just a stub. They need a little bit more meat there.
Where's the student/teacher in his pocket? Shoma. Where's the priest in his pocket? Could have been the clock mother. I don't give a shit.
Muglin's
That'd been cool.
supposed to be competent, and yet everything we see is him screwing up and being incompetent.
We should have known because of his bad hair dye.
That is part of his character. And
You're right.
It gives you backstory on him at the end of the book. Like every big bad, they have like backstory. It's basically just for the GM, right? And Muglin's big thing is he got to where he is, being low level, but just being really good at screwing other people over and stepping on them. And what has happened to him is he's done that so much that he just runs out of friends and starts losing money.
He should have really stuck it to us one more time. I feel like that would have been a better twist.
Yeah, he never stuck it to us outside of our backstories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have lost in a competent way. Like, even that we do everything right and still lose.
Yeah, like one of those do everything right, but you are going to lose no matter what.
Or at
things.
least a half loss. We should have had an extra thing. But that's,
Circle back to the question, is there anything I'd change? Obviously, I said I'd change the way that fight at the Steaming Kingdom played out. I would have, without restructuring the whole adventure book.
I'd change the adventure path we played.
But that's a lot of
I've
work.
had fun.
That's a lot of work.
I think we could have had a lot of fun doing something else with a little bit more satisfying of an end, though.
But what I'd say that it wouldn't be that hard to make it more satisfying. What I would do without having to do massive rewrites is all for book 2. Like, we're not touching what happened to book 1, but just for book 2, run it as intended. Have the Sabora Sharkosa not exist. Muglin runs the Gilded Gunners. It's one of his main gangs, right?
Okay.
Easy, simple thing.
That wouldn't be nice.
Easy change.
Yeah.
Or
He's not
Sharkosa is like a
A lieutenant.
not like a lieutenant. She is a pseudonym that he takes up so that people think there's somebody else.
But like,
Could've been
it doesn't.
yeah.
That would have been very competent.
But then, like, all you have to do at that point is he is still low on money because he's been pulling all these schemes and paying people, right? He doesn't have to be incompetent, but he's just been real busy trying to make his Pyronite scheme work, right? And then remove the guards from the fight. Then you have the chase back to the Gilded Halls. You go through the Gilded Halls. You fight Muglin at the end.
And at the end, he has a gold clockwork mech suit to make his level make sense.
Making Sharkosa an unknown figure that controls the Gilded Gunners that nobody's really ever seen, but having it turn out to be Muglin, and he's using this new name so that it's like signing up for Netflix on another email.
Around, you see the blonde hair over the chair. It turns around and it's Muglin wearing a blonde wig. Gotcha!
And then I saw her face.
Him being like, oh, I fucked up this identity. I fucked up my name. I need somebody else's good name. Getting the name of somebody dead.
Yeah.
Committing
Identity theft.
Would have been clever.
And competent.
But if you're a GM looking to run book 2 and you've read the end of it and you're working on it and you're concerned, I think all you got to do, remove Sharkosa, have Muglin be the final boss, maybe give him a level bump depending on how strong your PCs are.
A mech suit.
Or a mech suit if you're really into that.
throw on the suit that Gaz had.
But then the final boss fight is just him and 2 lieutenants and not like, or if you like elite template him or whatever, maybe him and a lieutenant.
Yeah.
However you want to do it. But now he's the boss at the end of the dungeon. He, if you kill him, has journal information about the deals, being sold off or whatever. And now you have the thread into the next book, right? But like him, I think the fundamental problem is as cool as an idea that you can buy your big bad built villain. If he has to be in book 2, which I still think is a fundamental issue, if he has to be in book 2, you should not be able to buy him.
No.
Yeah.
And then like the idea of being able to buy him is good, but like that works really well if he was a mid boss in another book, because now you can like make him your bitch and give you the information you needed.
You know who we should have been able to buy? Shoma.
Sure. But like, if you're a
he
GM,
should have gone into debt too.
These are easy changes you can make. Don't bother with the guards in the Steaming Kingdom.
Yeah.
And just make Muglin. Make sure that you chase the Gilded Gunners to the Gilded Halls, and make sure Muglin can't be bought, and he's the end boss of the Gilded Gunners. He's taken over or whatever. He screwed over whoever Sharkosa was or whatever.
Gilded. It's gold. It was just his all along.
Yeah.
We're level
9.
7 supposed to be? Because I think you gave us a level bump.
Yeah.
Since there's only 3 of us.
You would have been, so you went into the Gilded Halls at 8, you would have been 7. You just hit 9, you would have hit 8 at the end of the book.
Okay, so we're supposed to be level 7 there. That's not an insignificant level. For what we fought, and I get that this is supposed to be like a secondary thing.
He's level 8, by the way, creature.
He's not that scary. Even with his secondary, his traitorous lieutenant, he was okay. We were kind of down and out. There were 3 of us, and we still got him.
I think if
Make him scary.
I think all you got to do, he's level 8 creature. Give him the elite template if you don't want to deal with the whole mech suit thing. Understandable, because that's a lot
Give
of
him
work.
a cool
Here,
gun.
I actually have a reason for that. It started off as a meme, but I run the idea in my head is that if Loveless is the final boss of book 3, Loveless is, as far as we know, person with a gun. What's the final boss of book 2? People with a gun. What's the final boss of book 1? The guy who throws bombs. It's running the risk of having very uninspired final bosses, not knowing what happens in book 3. The mech suit spices it up. It's something unique and special.
Or he's there, but he is a decent enough guy with gun threat, but he has some funky gilded clockwork robots like those prototypes. That's a fun minion boss that spices it up.
Mech suit better, but that's fun.
But mech suit's hard to like mechanic into the game.
I know.
Him having something special like a mech suit should be like hush-hush information that you can find out if you have a rogue, if you have somebody who's still ingrained in the underworld.
Here's an easy one. Don't have to give him a mech suit. Just give him the equivalent of D&D 5e's layer stuff. Give him a layer where he does stuff to you while you fight his gilded clockwork robots.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then, once you defeat the bots and like, oh God, he's like Wizard of Oz behind the thing,
He's in a little glassed room. He doesn't have to
Pay
be
no attention to
strong.
the man behind
He's
the
just
curtain.
like flipping levers, activating traps. And if you want him to be a little incompetent there, maybe some of his many minions can get caught in those traps.
If you're going to GM it, which I know some people listen to this with this
fun.
advice, there's a training hall in the Gilded Halls, which is where you would do your duel, which is actually, there's duel rules in the Game Mastery Guide that you would use. It works a little different from an encounter. Use the duel hall, turn it into like a training thing, but he has traps. Muglin's working the switches, and you fight 2 unique clockwork like gilded gunner things. Maybe beef them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Use the Pathfinder encounter builder to make sure that you don't overtune it. But like
Make sure
that
you're
would be
not
fun.
going to swat your players like
So
flies.
if in that case, Muglin would be physically incompetent, but mentally and like mechanically a threat to the characters.
He's
actually.
pulling out his bag of tricks. He's Wile E. Coyote.
he would be the hazard, is what
he
it
would be a hazard.
Yeah.
He feels like he got this way because of nepotism. He doesn't feel like he's an actual businessman. He feels like a
Exactly.
businessman's son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There's some easy ways to tweak, I think, book 2 to be a little bit better. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't like the airship ride and the Kosawana detour,
It's one of my favorite parts.
but I loved it. And I wouldn't remove it at all. I get why some people don't like it, but there's an easy way to fix it. Just make Muglin if you don't want to rewrite the whole thing and start rewriting book 3, he has to be the villain of book 2, sure.
Yeah.
Just don't let them pay for it. And he replaces Sharkosa and you do a different final encounter. Would have been 10 times more satisfying. Still would have been weird to kill Muglin in book 2, admittedly, but it would have been a satisfying end to a adventure, not a like, oh, I guess that's
And
kind
if
of
he
weird.
was in like a little secret room, there's always the opportunity to escape.
There's two. If
Yeah.
if you want to do that, then you can do the classic villain gets away and shows up as a mini boss like we've done in Reign of Winter.
He uses like a little escape pod and shoots all the way to Nex.
Or even as an ally in the final boss fight, because at that point he's so weak that it's not like you're fighting 2 bosses.
And that's you should definitely consider it if you can. I think you should let your characters have the chance to kill him. But like if you haven't a way that like maybe after a round or 2 he can get away, as long as you leave evidence about the purchasers from Nex and Gib, then you can 100% have him be a mini boss in book 3 somewhere else. You can have him show up again. I love seeing villains pop up again. That's like really
that's
fun.
great.
That's It makes the adventure a lot more personal. That's why Loveless should have been in book 1 and book 2 and represented in some way or form.
100%
Some
agree.
form. It would have satisfied the player at the table who made her the enemy.
Or
Definitely.
Being an incompetent bad guy, but being able to control like competent, tough minions would have been the exact same end as Hammerlock's big game hunt. And that has one of the funniest ends.
That's really funny. Like it is subversive, but it's also just so hilarious.
And it has a satisfying like big fight, and then you're like, all right, here's round 2. You get all hyped up for that, and then it's humorous.
You watch the health bar just
or you give up one of the chapters in book 2, probably the first one
where
with
you're
the
hunting
workshop
down. Yeah.
and the temple, and instead you have examples of how Muglin / Loveless go after your loved ones to make things personal.
Yeah.
That would be
He
specifically
needs to fuck us over again.
that would be personal, probably personal writ for the backgrounds for the adventure path,
Right.
which not everybody may use. It's their own fault. I get it, but it's a possibility. But there should have been, because he knew who we were. The adventure path even says that he should have tried to come after us.
Once we
I
started
don't
being a
think it-
problem again, he was too blasé about it.
Yeah.
He didn't
I think
care.
what you should do is rip out the going to the Temple of Bride to read about Chris. The
Yeah, because
Cradle of
that was
Courts.
kind of
that was throwaway. The workshop is fun.
The workshop
Yeah.
is fun.
You
You're
should get a
right.
lead. Kosawana knows Gattleby. That's how he reverse engineer it. You get a lead from Gattleby to Kosawana's workshop. But before you do that, you can use that like half a chapter to do character stuff. And it doesn't have to be dungeons. It can just be events, right?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe encounters, maybe skill encounters, right? Use that for events. Like Muglin puts pressure on you through the Gilded Gunners that he now runs.
Shield marshals inspect the bar. They're going place to place looking. They don't know where you are, but they come into the bar.
A lot of people, like the end of book 2, once you kill or deal with Muglin, to have Lovelace burn down or capture the barrel and bullet. But the thing, we can't do that because you guys have been so very careful.
Well, Muglin knew about us anyway, so we could.
But he didn't know you were at the barrel and bullet. Like, they go after the barrel and bullet specifically, but you guys have been really careful about the whole disguise thing every time you've had an opportunity. So there's no real reason for me to say, yeah, they suddenly know where your hideout is.
Yeah, it would have been great because you could have had Dunsmith, like, while investigating, she could have slipped up.
Right.
And then Lovelace, you get back to the bar and it's on fire or something like that.
Or Dunsmith is dead and Lovelace is where she should be.
It would add to the personal nature of it. We had made a friend that we would have lost.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
It's so funny because the set pieces in this adventure path
There's not enough emotion.
Are so good. The theme is so good, but the story glue is just not very good. But it's so close and so easy. Like, I think if you just make small tweaks and you don't want to rewrite the whole book, you can get there. All you got to do in book 1, like we said, Lyserius is paid by Muglin. Muglin cuts him off because he's found out about Kosawana. Easy peasy.
And add a Loveless chase mechanic.
Yeah, and then Gattle, and you don't even have to redo that.
Get rid of the chase because of the powder keg punks.
Make it Loveless.
And put the chase somewhere else where you're running from Loveless.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Make it so that you catch her on an off day and she doesn't have like her gun with her, but she's still a threat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're like an hour and 40 minutes in and I'm starving.
Oh boy.
Yeah, let's go.
I think at this point we've made all the points about it. But like, again, we've loved this book. I'm really excited about book 3. I think it has, out of all the cool set pieces in this adventure path, it has some of the best.
That's
I will say
exciting to hear because I thought book 2 was great.
It's going to be hard to top the airship. The airship is pretty great, but there's a lot of really fun stuff in book 3, and the way it's structured gives me a lot of hope. And I mean, you guys see who's on the cover of it, so like, we're getting some.
She's very pretty.
We're finally going to get some resolution to things, one way or another. You know.
We're going to spread her ashes in the same desert we spread Owl's. They can fight to the death out there.
We buried Div.
No, Owl got
we buried
scattered.
Owl.
We buried his ashes. Buried him?
Scattered on his father's grave.
Yeah. But like there was like a whole funeral and
that's
everything.
Al's death. I don't remember.
Yeah, but I think that's going to wrap us up for catching up. I think we've covered just about as much as we possibly could, and I am very excited to get into book 3.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait to take down Loveless.
Loveless.
Finally, my backstory will make sense.
We'll catch you guys back at the Barrel and Bullet.
Bye.
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 Gonna turn Loveless into lifeless.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Catching Up. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing us. If you want to see more from us, check out our website, thirdgallon.com, or follow us on Twitter. We are at Third Gallon, that's THIRD Gallon. We are also on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook with the same handle, at Third Gallon. We also publish a video version of this podcast on YouTube, which you can find on our channel, The Third Gallon. The theme for Catching Up was composed by Alexander Nakarada, and you can find more of his work at serpentsoundstudios.com and support him at patreon.com/a-nakarada. That's patreon.com/ANAKARADA. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.